bring February 7th, 10 a.m. American Rescue Plan Act Committee to order. Do roll call, please.
Crowe. Present. Awful. Here. Sure. Alt.
Here.
Ducat.
Here. Everybody's had a chance to look over the agenda. Somebody want to make a motion?
Move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Public comments, is there any public comments?
Sir, my name is Michael Lenz from City, Illinois. I'd just like to suggest maybe we should keep the money inside Iroquois County instead of bringing people in. You don't have to spend a whole bunch all at once. I don't know if that's true or not. I know a lot of times it's best to spend the money to get it out of hands so nobody takes it back. That's just a suggestion I have.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right, we'll move forward and discuss, review, and take action on ARPA applications. Jill, you go with me.
I would see who's here first.
Do we have anybody go around and get names? Signing sheets, sir. Thank you, Brady.
Mm-hmm.
You have no proposal here, but I got it.
Number 32.
Say what, Donna?
Number 32, I think, if that's what your question was.
I'm just trying to see what I have for today and who's here. Hey Jerry, did you put in some for the Coliseum already?
We did not, I just heard about it on the radio
Oh, okay.
last week and, was wondering if they could get an application, to put something in.
Yeah, fantastic. If you have any questions, just let us know.
Okay, that's the only reason I'm here.
Peter Mayor's got my phone number, we can have a conversation.
I do not have it.
I will see you.
Put it on here.
You're also welcome to stay and observe if you like.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, yeah, I see.
I'll go.
Kind of hoops I have to jump through. I know a lot of our events were canceled because of the weather.
Made as well.
All right, so I'm gonna go in order, 34, Sonia, the bread basket food pantry. If you'd like to present
Stand
yourself,
up.
yeah, please do.
My name is Sonia Bradley. I live in Iroquois County. I've lived here approximately 10 years. And I have a few homes also in Watsika that I rent out. But I created the bread basket food pantry.
Sorry, man, you wanna come on up here?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me bring my stuff.
It's just for hearing.
I know, I know, sometimes I'm loud, sometimes I'm not.
Thank you for coming up.
You're welcome. Okay, I'll start over. My name is Sonia Bradley. I do live in Iroquois County. I live out towards Woodland area. I have a few houses in town that I rent out. I created the bread basket food pantry because I purchased the building at 121 West Walnut, which is the building between the post office and the B&B. So I own that whole building about 3 years ago, and I have the parking lot and the building. So I created the bread basket because I knew there was a need for food. I created it before the COVID, so I was having a kind of hard time with the food banks and everything, and of course, when COVID hit, they're like, okay, you're opening. So the USDA came in, the food banks, everybody just started dropping food off. So it just worked out really well, I guess, at that point. So, and it'll be 2 years in April that I've been open, and there's just an increase in individuals that are needing food. And I wanted to eliminate the food insecurity with the individuals and families in the current crisis. But it doesn't seem like it's letting up. Like in January, last month, it was my highest total of individuals, which was 1,077 individuals, and that's 361 households. But I noticed the increase in, I was more focused, I guess, under the age of 18, children. But I noticed out of all them individuals, there's 243 elderly, over 60, that come up, I deliver food. So I mean, that, it's just crazy. So I noticed it. So anyway, I guess I was wanting a grant to help provide more food for the future because it's going to increase. The food banks, they're cheaper to buy food, but you still have to buy the food. So, and then with the building, you know, the utilities, and all my help, all my volunteers are either from community service, which they help out a lot. They pretty much run it. So no one gets paid. I don't get paid. I just pay the bill. And it's a lot of work. So, but I would like to continue in providing this service. I think a lot of people just out of nowhere just donate money, which is awesome. It's just great. I did go through United Way. I think they donated like $700 for the year. But, and then I'll just get a check out of nowhere from like Hersher Methodist Church for 1,000. So, I mean, every little bit helps. So, I just want to continue growing, and it is growing.
Do you have an exact amount that you're looking for? Because you just put down 10,000.
Right, I didn't know, I was thinking around 10,000, cause I do need a new freezer, cause mine just went out 2 weeks ago. And actually, I'm getting a new one delivered tomorrow, not a freezer, a cooler that was donated, so that's awesome. But I have 5 freezers in there, and plus 3 coolers.
Bear with me, so are you just, it says bread basket, what do you actually deliver?
Food.
Okay, do you deliver them?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
To all of Iroquois County or just? Sepia?
Actually, a lot of Iroquois County, Milford, I'm not sure what's going on there, but I deliver a lot of food to Milford. But yes, I do deliver.
Does everybody have this?
Number of trucks or cars that you use?
I just have my vehicle. I just use my
So it's
personal.
when it's there on your own vehicle.
Right, so I just use my own vehicle. If they call and need food, and when they walk in, I don't ask for an ID or utility bills or anything like that. If you need food, you need food. You know, I don't.
Are you connected to the Eastern Illinois Food Bank?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So you purchase food through the Eastern Illinois Food Bank?
correct.
So do you have, you say you have freezers, do you provide meat in your packages?
Oh,
You have
yes.
meat?
Yes.
Does that also, and I'm curious because I don't know,
Right.
does that also come through the Eastern Illinois Food
Yes,
Bank?
it does. Yes, yes. I usually get approximately 3 pallets of freezer food per month. Sometimes it gets a little scary because I don't know if I have enough room, but if I don't, then I bring it at home because I got the freezer out there. So, yes, and I get ribs, sometimes I get like $35 steaks. I'm like,
Wow.
so everybody's fighting over them all the time. No. So, yeah, and the pizzas, and I do provide, I have a snack bag, which I have food that people eat, like chocolate, chips, just not peas, beans. So, it's a fun food pantry. You never know what you're gonna get.
You get any food from the Midwest Food Bank in Bloomington?
I do not.
They don't charge you for their food.
Right, I did talk to them, you have to go down there and pick it up.
That's correct.
So I do not sometimes have the transportation to go pick it up, but they did come to the site and evaluated it, and they actually never heard back from them. It's been about a year ago. But they probably figured, oh, you're doing okay, so. But no, I don't have the transportation to go there every month.
Okay. Did you look at any PPP loans or did you try to get one or?
I did not even try. No.
And under grant funding, you've never actually put out for other grants besides people just giving you money here and there?
No. Maybe, I don't know if United Way is a grant. They give you what they think. So no, I've never applied for any.
Do people just walk through your doors by word of mouth, or do you get referrals from, say, pastors and public health and other places?
All the above, because since I'm with the United Way, they have different nonprofit organizations that you go to a meeting once a month.
You're associated with United Way?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Would you be able to get us the paperwork for your grant funding from United Way? I'm sure that's a grant, that's what that is.
Right, right.
Can you get the paperwork for that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you definitely need to include that, for us to look at this again. I also think that, your funding is, don't take it in any form, but I'm just, it's kinda odd, everybody just gives you money. That, you get what I'm saying, usually
Right,
everybody has
I know,
grants that
I
are
know,
set up.
I know.
How would you wanna go about looking at our funding?
Well, I do have.
Jill, do you have a thought on this?
If any of the grant paperwork, or if you keep like an inventory list or anything like that, that you can provide, that would
need a microphone.
I need a microphone? I'll just talk louder. How's that, Charlie?
It's like the people in the back are trying to hear you and they're not. They can move up closer.
Right, so, since I started with the COVID thing, it's, and that since I own the parking lot, it's just easier, we pre-bag everything still. So no one walks through the building, unless there's like people that just come in out of nowhere, they'll see my car. So we still do that, so they just pull up, they fill out a piece of paper and we bring the food out to them.
Oh, their requests for, or needs, they fill out a piece of paper? and
No,
then-
the only thing I need is their name, address, and how many's in the family.
Okay,
That's-
so you determine, you have a set determined grocery list that you provide them?
Right. If they have kids or a lot of kids, I just give them extra or, yeah.
So what kind of a cost do you have to buy the, food for like a year?
For the year, well, it costs around $500 per month, so. And then I figured with utilities, which in the winter is running a little higher than I expected. So you're looking at probably around $1,000 a month
To run them?
to run it, yes. And like I said, no one gets paid. So like I said, I got the volunteers from the community service, which are awesome.
So do you have a set amount of hours that you, Monday through Friday, or?
We open every other Saturday, which we are required to be open at least 2 hours a week.
So the first Saturday every month and then the following?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And then, if they call, I do deliveries. And I have my set deliveries. And if you're not on time, they'll call you. So,
Another question would be, if the desired funding was approved, would you be able to keep this going?
oh, yes, yes.
Jill?
Now,
Go ahead.
The $10,000 would, include what would you need that for? The food, I know, but
Food, and then I do wanna purchase another freezer. And then just odds and ends that keep popping up, utilities, food.
and how is your vehicle? Is it going to last you?
Yeah. Newer. Now, if you would've asked me that last year, I would've known.
Did you say how many coolers you had?
Oh, jeez, I got, the one freezer just about, I got one. I actually only have one cooler. The rest of them are freezers. Amron did donate a freezer last year, which was great, but it's just a standard freezer, it's not like industrial or, which was fine.
John, Barb, any more questions? Any more questions? Jill, do you have anything? All right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Number 5, or 35 will be Beverly for the garage and going. Come on down.
Good morning. My name is Beverly Custer, and I am with the Garage Community Center in Gilman. We are truly a community center that serves a plethora of ages for the community. We start out on Sunday, we have our high school Youth for Christ, and then we also have one Sunday a month that the 4-H meets at our building. On Monday, we have the junior high Youth for Christ that meets there every week. Tuesday is kind of, gives us, those of us volunteers, a chance to go in and do cleaning and that type of thing. Wednesday, we have the Cub Scouts, which we have a very large beginning, we've got a good group of Cub Scouts that meets every Wednesday. On Thursday is where I come in a lot, is I coordinate our program for the senior citizens. And we can have as many as 10 or 12 seniors that come in to have coffee and some cookies and reminisce about whatever. And then on Friday, we have what is called the Friday night hangout for our youth in grades 4 through 8. 1 week it's 4th and 5th grade, and the next week it's 6th through 8th grade. And Saturdays and Sundays is Saturday is again our day for going in and cleaning, doing book work, making sure the pipes didn't freeze when we have this cold weather. We are funded by donations. We have some regular donors. We have several churches that faithfully donate. We have applied for grants. Our records go back as far as 2018, and I know we've had a few prior to that, and we have received grants for electrical repairs. The electrical system in that old building was poor at best, and so we've had electrical repairs. We've got all new lighting. We've had a grant for games and equipment and a small laptop that we can use for our own records. We have gotten a grant for sound acoustics. And if you've ever been there on Friday night with 90 kids in there, those were greatly needed. I've been there, done that. And then we are working on getting a handicap accessible door in our showroom. And we've also had grants for exterior lighting. And in 2018, there was a devastating fire across the alley from us to the west, which also damaged our building, and we had extensive electrical repairs that we had to do as a result of that. Insurance paid for part of it, but we had got a grant to help pay for the rest of it. We have the only AED automated defibrillator in that whole section of downtown that we got from a grant. So we utilize grants as much as we can for these larger objects. This last year, we found that the bricks on the north side of the building were falling, and we applied for and received a grant for the tuck pointing down 6 feet. And I didn't realize tuck pointing costs that much. We get grants from different entities to help with our program supplies. You'd be surprised how many ping pong balls kids can go through in a Friday night. And like I said, we're now working on trying to come up with money to finish off. We've got about $3,500 in a reserved fund for our handicap accessible door. Some of the other things that we do is we are a temporary polling place for Douglas 1 because there's room for social distancing. There's lots of room for people to spread out, and the lighting is good, and that is one of the other things. And gotta think of all the different things we do. But it started very small, and we're growing every day. We also have the Onarga Music Club that comes and meets there 1 month out of the year, and we're also a rehearsal area where they can come and rehearse. Iroquois West School District uses our building once a month for their community meetings. We've had businesses have, like organizational meetings there because we have plenty of room. And one of the things that we would like to use with the money that we requested is we need to do something with our antiquated heating and cooling system. We had to close down a Red Cross Blood Mobile because our air conditioning system could not cool the room. And we have no idea when these were put in. When we got the building in 2015, all of this stuff was there. I was kidding and saying to someone yesterday, I think the heating system and cooling system accompanied Moses 40 years on the wilderness and went around the mountain a few times. It is so old. And we're looking to upgrade our heating and cooling in both the rec area and our showroom and our check-in room with highly efficient. We'd like to get Wi-Fi controlled thermostats so that we can control where the heating and cooling is at. So these are things that, throughout the pandemic, we were unable to have our Friday night hangout. We had to cancel multiple fundraising events. I had one particular event I had to cancel 2 years in a row. We had to cancel a breakfast in Thawville that we served. We lost sales on the sandwich sales. Plus we lost donations because people were struggling themselves. And so we're kind of an extra. We're a want and not a need for people donating.
It sounds like you provide a real service for the community, like lots and lots of people are able to go and meet there. Do you have any, have you obtained any quotes on your heating and cooling?
Not yet. We are looking into it. It would involve new heaters. We have the wall mount, the old wall mount heaters, because our rec area used to be the garage area in this car dealership. And we have not looked into it because we don't have the funding yet. Big things like that we have to apply for grants for.
We might like to see what it's gonna cost. This committee would like to know, see a quote, I think.
Okay.
If you could get somebody to look at that, and I don't know, does anyone else agree? And it sounds like your building then has been brought up to code electrically?
Most of it.
Okay.
We cannot use the third floor at all because we are, well, at least let's put it this way, the circuit box isn't sparking all the time.
So I guess that's separated off from.
Yeah, the doors are padlocked.
But I mean, electrically, they've disconnected, for no threat of fire.
Yeah, they've corrected the immediate to keep it from catching fire. But we have to take flashlights up there because we're not gonna trust a lot of that old wiring. The area that we use, they have done rewiring in most of it.
In addition, I see, in addition to your handicapped accessible door, that you need to upgrade your restrooms to be ADA compliant.
Yes.
And you have your heating and cooling, which you've explained. Energy efficient concession appliances, is that new refrigerator, microwave?
We need one new refrigerator, the donated one that we have, it works, but I have to mop up water in the bottom of the refrigerator regularly. And, you know, it works, so we use it.
This is a temporary polling place because of COVID.
It was used in the, primary and, or in the general and the consolidated. So the general of 2020 and the consolidated of 21.
Is there any thought of making this a permanent polling place or not at this time?
It's not going to be as a permanent at this time, and where I'm torn is the fact that it's not a government-funded building, so they could tell me at any time, just like with the air conditioning, that if it didn't work in June of this year, we would be in trouble because we have an election June 28th.
And we can't close the doors.
Right, so, which I didn't know that was an issue until just now, but just because it's not a government-funded building, it makes me worrisome that it could close at any time and then I'd have to change the polling place again. I'd rather keep them as much as I can, and so like it's going to be moved back to the village hall this, election unless something crazy happens that we have to socially distance and do all of that.
Do you receive any funding from the city of Gilman?
No, we do not.
Why not?
That's a long story that I might discuss it with you privately. I would not, I don't care to discuss politics.
Okay, I probably understand. I've had similar problems.
You do apply to the Donovan Trust, but one year you did not receive an award from them.
We apply every year to Donovan. That's how we got our AED. And this last, in 2021, we did not receive anything. I looked at it's the luck of the draw. You know, there was maybe 40 people wanting 20 grants. And we happened to be in those that were maybe not as critical as the ones that got it.
I guess I, for one, think it's a worthy cause, but I think as Donna pointed out, having some information about the cost of these improvements would be something we need to get.
Okay.
I think if you go ahead and get quotes
Get
for
quotes
like
for-
your refrigerator that you wanted, go ahead and get quotes for the handicap access to the bathroom.
I do, for in the bathrooms, okay, because
And
I
then the
do
HVAC
have,
systems, go ahead and do the same thing.
okay,
You get a couple of them, and then the next question would be, if you were to get the desired funding, would you be able to keep it running afterwards?
I believe so.
If the funding was less than, would there still be issues?
We will make do with what we get. We might not get the super deluxe model, but we will do we as a board strive to be good stewards of the finances that we're entrusted with. And, you know, when you get an old historical building like we have, we want to maintain it and just be good stewards to the community, and we want to serve the community as best we can.
No, I've heard nothing but good things from you down there, so that's fantastic.
Thank you.
It's pretty sad your town can't back you up. That's politics sometimes.
Yeah, and, you know, I personally take the stand as we're part of our community, and we're just going to be good witnesses to the community, and, you know, if you want to help support us, we love the support, and if you choose not to, we'll love you anyway.
Thank you. I just know, living in Gilman, it's
Johnny,
been
any
really
questions?
just.
I think we get that information that we talked about, I think we can probably.
Yep.
make some decisions.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, Thank you for having me.
All right, on with number 40. And that'd be Roxanne and Mary.
Morning.
Morning.
I am Mary Rona, and I am the sister-in-law of the lady who just spoke. I'm also the president of the Milford Park and Pool Foundation. We are a 501c3 in Milford, and we were formed back in 15-16 to help keep the pool and park area viable. We're a small group. There are 7 of us on the board. No one gets paid. We're all volunteer hours. And we rely on fundraising. We write grants. We have specific fundraising through the years. In 2020, because of COVID, we were not able to have our main fundraiser, which was the golf outing. And we came up with the figure $9,000 by just pretty much averaging what we had made from past golf outings and the golf outing we had in 2021. That's how we came up with the $9,000 figure. I didn't just grab that out of the sky. Swimming pools never make money. The swimming pool is over 50 years old, which is about the same age of all the swimming pools in the area. Watsika, Narga, Hookston, and I believe if you look at them, they kind of all struggle to stay afloat. We are not connected with the Milford Park District. We are the 501c3 that helps to fund them for the things that they need. Some examples would be, one year we had an unexpected flood, and so the pump with the pool went out. We've had to replace the complete filter system. We've put in new fencing. This past year, the major, I guess, improvement that was made to the pool was a new coating. It was a coating that was actually developed in the NASA space program, and guaranteed for 25 plus years. And so many times we do things and a year or two later, it needs to be fixed again. It's kind of like you're just looking at a money pit. We went with this particular product because it did have such a long viability to it, and our main goal is to keep that pool going. It provides such an amount of not only recreation, but when we're talking about the health and wellness of the people who come to the area, it is vital. You know, children have been, for the last, it'll be 2 years, March 17th, have been placed in constraints because of COVID. The pool is one place they can go and they can just have fun. It's outside, it's good health, it is just needed in the community. And we have a lovely park facility in Milford. If you've ever been there, we're very proud of it. We have a pavilion, we have a lovely park area, we have an actual toddler playground area that's just for toddlers. And we have helped with various things in order to get those things to the park. Now, yes, we applied for a lot of grants. Last year, the Donovan grant gave us, I want to say, $4,035, and we bought a vacuum because we had just put in this new coating on the surface of the pool. A really technical, logically advanced vacuum was needed to make sure that we were getting the smallest grains of sand out of it so that it wasn't, creating problems. The year before that, the Donovan grant gave us, I want to say, around $1,000. We actually removed trees and also purchased some trees. The park itself, the trees are old, and you run the risk of branches falling down, just needing to take out old trees and replace them, with newer trees. Some of the other things that we've done as far as renovations that we've helped to pay for, an ADA compliant lift so that we can have that. They redid the whole concession area a couple of years ago with things like, well, they just redid the whole thing, but we had to have, again, she just mentioned refrigerator. A lot of times you get donated refrigerators and they kind of might be on their last leg to begin with. And then, now with concessions, you have to have everything prepackaged. You don't just go in and serve nachos the way you used to. I don't know if that'll change, but, so that is our purpose. Roxanne is the treasurer. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask her also. As I said, we're asking for the $9,000 because we weren't able to have the fundraiser in 2020. We want to keep our amount of money that we can contribute towards improvements viable. We also cut back on fundraising because we realized people don't have it to give. We saw people lose their jobs, we saw families. I truly didn't have the heart, and I'm the president, and I spoke up, but I don't have a heart to ask for anything more. I think we've stretched people to the limits. In the past, we've had a fast cash, we've had a calendar raffle. We no longer have the calendar raffle because we have another entity in Milford. I don't know if you know something called Angel's Closet, that they give out clothing, free clothing, and the Angel's Closet, one of their only fundraiser is a calendar raffle. So we didn't want to compete with them. Again, I'm kind of asking the same people. When I'm selling fast cash tickets or I'm selling calendar tickets, hey boys, how many do you want? So I'm asking the same people. So we no longer do the calendar raffle. One of the next expenses that I see coming for the pool is, it's called filter pit, and we gave to the park district last summer, $15,000. Well, it didn't get fixed. I know, Donna. That went on forever. It did, but I'm telling you, it didn't get fixed. Okay. So now we're fixing it again. So.
I'll just interrupt you. Where'd 15,000 go to then? So,
Let's pay the guy who tried to fix it. Sorry, sir.
No, it's.
I mean, sometimes you take on a job and you hire somebody and you think they can do it and they can't. That's one of the issues that we've had with the pool through the years is cracks and drainage issues and water leaking. We had somebody probably within the last half dozen years actually take one side of the pool, and just cut into the concrete. We thought we had that fixed. No, we were losing hundreds of gallons of water a day because it wasn't fixed, and that's when we went with this expensive coating to try to take care of some of that.
I'll hire the same guy back that.
No, sir, we aren't. No, sir, we aren't. That's what I meant. I didn't mean to offend anybody when I said it, but that's what I meant when I said that pools are a money pit. There's just always something there. And our focus as a foundation is to help provide some cushion so that the pool can remain viable in the community.
And I think that's important because these small towns, there's really not much for kids to do. And I think it's important to have the pool.
Exactly.
So you got the golf outing in 2021, but not in 2020.
Correct. Correct.
Just a couple of general comments that you might want to mention further. The fundraising, there was the calendar, there was the cash bash, and then the golf outing's the biggest. Was there other?
Well,
or I might be confusing.
One time, I'm on a lot of committees, so I look familiar.
I know, and there's a lot of fundraising Milford supports, yeah, so I'm not sure.
One year we did we had a little park and pool cafe down, during fun days, and we sold food. And it wasn't a big fundraiser, but it was a service to provide to the community. We might have made $500 profit. And then for about 3 years, maybe 4, we did something called Sips and Dips over in Gilman.
That's right.
But it was a fundraiser felt like we needed to try to keep it local. We tried to have it there at the Town and Country Event Center, and again, it didn't work out. You run into a lot of issues with needing dram insurance and, you know, and things like that, so that fundraiser was dropped.
And I thank you for expounding. I did try to explain to the committee rather inadequately about how wonderful this new coating was for our pool and how new age it is. And so thanks for sharing that. I couldn't quite get it across. But the other thing is, I will just add that last year, the town of Milford just about wore out Park Street going down there to see if that pit was fixed yet, because it was huge and the whole town was watching. And I did not know the rest of the story, and that's so disheartening to
Well, they
hear.
had to take the line of the pit out, so you had a big, I don't know my equipment, but an inloader or something to, you know, to take it out of the pit.
Right.
It was kind of fun to watch, but yeah, we did wait endlessly for it to be.
And not just the board, but the whole
Yeah,
community
yeah.
was waiting, it's because the whole opening of the pool was contingent on that.
And it's been patched, let me say that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's kind of like you keep using that refrigerator that's not quite working, but you just mop up and go with it the best you can. We now feel, the board now feels, the park board now feels they have someone who has actually the knowledge to get in there and correctly fix it the way it should be fixed.
And I think my daughter was a lifeguard there in, I don't know, at least 12 years ago, and probably, I know more than 20. But anyway, she said a lot of these repairs should have been done more timely, but there simply wasn't funding for it. And so what might have been a less expensive repair, she said the pit needed fixed that far back, and you gals know that too. So, but there just simply wasn't the funding to do that, so.
The pit and the pump house are two different things. If you were to drive by the pool, you would see a nice white building, that's the pump house. And it was constructed with, again, volunteer labor, with, you know, with, but that's not the same thing we're talking about. We're talking about the below ground area
Next to the,
next to that. If you look up at
the
half,
house, it's
you
in
look
the
down,
ground
yeah, you look down there.
with like 23 filters or something.
And actually, the guard, I don't know that the guards have, the managers have had to go down there and, again, make some repairs, do whatever they can to, you know, to keep it going. That in itself is not safe. So, that's, please ask questions. I didn't know what,
You're good. We appreciate you coming.
okay, thank you very much.
John has a question.
Still got
I'm
two more
sorry, sir.
questions, but
What is the lining that was put in the pool?
A stain,
Like an epoxy? It was.
oh, you mean, yeah, it was an epoxy material.
It was a company out of Kentucky?
Phoenix Pools out of Kentucky. And it was developed actually as a NASA project. And Randall Schlate, who's the treasurer of the Milford Park District, did hours and weeks and days of research, months of research, and came up with this particular company. So it's put on with heat.
Yeah, the guy wore like a suit.
Yeah. If you went down there, it was kind of funny, not funny, but it was interesting, because he looked like a hazmat guy, down in the pools, you know, putting this on.
He had, like a blower torch to heat it.
What is the estimated life of that line?
About 25 years, which is more than we've seen with anything. Like I said, we've almost every other year been dealing with some kind of a leak. And so we felt it was expensive, but we felt this was the most viable option to keep the pool going. We did not want to close the pool.
Have you had any leaks since they put it in?
Not to the pool, the filter pit.
The filter pit is still leaking. That's not connected with what was done with the surface. Does that answer your question, sir?
I guess so. I'm familiar with a product that probably would have done the job better, but that's all right.
would you be able to get pricing on what you're looking to get? And I see your design desired pricing is 9,000, but I didn't know if you actually had prices of everything that you're looking for. Then on your application, you would need to change it just, for yourself, so you want to reapply a new application, or can she use the same one she's got? You did get grants,
And I guess,
from Donovan, the Donovan grants, so we need to have them put on there so we know that.
okay, I guess I reread.
No, you're good, it's just,
I read the question.
I'm just trying to cover everything
incorrectly,
for you,
I
that's all I'm trying to do.
We didn't get any COVID grants, I guess, is the way I know.
No, it's great, you're okay.
Yeah.
No issues whatsoever, I just want to cover everything.
So you need a list of how far back are these grants?
No,
or-
just need to know if you previously applied for funding.
Okay,
And as you were speaking, the Donovan grant came up a couple times, so.
right,
Just put it down there so the federal government doesn't come in and see us.
right, absolutely.
Yes, Joe, I'm just laughing about that.
I am too, you just can't see it.
I figured you're just laughing at me, that's okay too. That's about it for me. Joe, can you think of anything?
You're asking them to get pricing from their new vendor for the filter pit?
Yeah, just to give us an idea what they're looking for, and you have no problem keeping us going after if you were able to get the desired funding, or if the desired funding was less, you can still keep it.
Absolutely, anything that.
No, we appreciate that, we're just trying
anything you
to
wish to give, we, you
ask
know,
the question.
we will appreciate, I've written grants all my life, so I understand, you know.
I appreciate your
of
help.
grants, so.
So the 9,000 that's requested, that is for the revenue loss or for what needs to be done to the pit?
We actually put it in as the revenue loss,
Yeah.
we may have I don't know.
I mean, and that's fine,
it's
because
okay.
as long as you
Yes,
can
sir.
show the revenue loss, you know, if you have a profit and loss report or whatever, that would work just fine. That's fine as well, but if it's specifically for a project or a piece of
It's
equipment.
not for a
or whatnot,
project, it was put in as a revenue loss.
That's what I thought, okay. Yeah, so then I would just, all I would need then is just some sort of financial, showing your revenue loss, for 2020.
I would just mention one thing, and the committee needs to help me out here. One of the things is we've asked the entities to work together, so I understand, like, we've got the sheriff working with the courts and things like that. I understand that there may be something coming from the park district, and I'm not sure what that is, I have no clue. But, to prevent duplication, maybe you could, communicate a little bit.
We have a liaison from the foundation that goes to every monthly park district meeting, and it happens to be next Wednesday, the 16th. And obviously I'm going, so I was under the impression too that they were going to put in an application, but I had
One
chance
hasn't
yet to
arrived yet, so
know what was gonna
just
go on.
to make sure that there's no
Absolutely.
duplications and we're using the funds.
Right. Mr. Alt, you've been patient there, what can I do for you, sir?
Well, cut question, you operate mainly in the summertime with
Yeah.
school help, high school help? and-
High school help, college
Okay.
help, yeah. They hire a pool manager,
Okay,
and then they hire an assistant manager if they're able to find one. Some summers they are, some summers they aren't. The rest of the help is high school or college kids that are home. That's great until about the middle of August, and then you got a problem with kids from volleyball, football, and getting back to college, you know, so it's a little tricky that way.
that's
but-
always a problem.
Yeah,
no matter what
well,
we get.
it's a bigger problem now than ever, but yeah, we're a summer entity.
Yeah, I'm glad you are local community people working there.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome, sir. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what she really needs to do is she really needs to get a loss.
Profit and loss.
Profit,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
Okay.
change your funding to yes. And
Yes.
put the Donovan grant in if you would be, or if
Okay.
you have any other grants also.
Thank you very much.
And some quotes on the quotes.
Yes,
Okay.
quotes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for having us, I appreciate it.
Actually, she won't need quotes for the profit losses.
Oh.
Yep.
But
Because their
that's why I was
application,
asking
their
the question, 'cause I
application
didn't know.
specifically says for revenue loss, so
They
all I
don't-
was
It's
gonna
a
do
revenue loss.
financial.
So-
So you don't
show
need,
revenue
can
loss.
they change their application to include the pit filters?
That would be up to them, but they're more than welcome to put an application for that separately too, if they'd
Right.
like to.
That's what I would recommend, is doing a separate application for that, since this application specifically said revenue loss. The
Yes.
only thing I would need is a financial report showing the revenue loss for, the time period of 2020. but if they would like to put in a separate application for any repairs or what they're looking to do for the pit project, I believe, that would be fine as well.
They would need a quote then for that second.
They would need quotes with that attached.
Okay, we'll meet and see what we wanna do there, but thank you for your
So
time.
any questions, please let us know, we wanna help
Yeah.
everybody out here as
Well,
much as possible.
We appreciate what you're doing, it's so important to get this money out into our county and help all the infrastructures and all the, all the groups. Thank you.
And I believe there's only 3 pools left in the county, public
We have
pools.
one in Clifton.
Clifton, Milford, and Anarga, isn't it?
Watsika.
What's the 4?
Clifton has a beautiful pool, by the way, I've been there.
My kids live up there.
No? Nobody came from real house and was looking for anything else. Did you like that directly, Bill?
It's been, and there may have been some confusion with, because they were coming to our board meeting and then got canceled. So I'll reach out to her again and have her come to the next meeting.
Which one?
31 and 32.
Uh,
31 and 32 is our earlier mental health.
31, 32, we had a bunch of questions.
There were 2.
Because of the way that their application was.
Yeah, and there was some, she did reply that she was gonna come to the meeting on the 4th, but I'll reach out to her and have her come to our next meeting.
Be able to take or anything, or you're,
You need to take a break?
depends on how long you're gonna be.
Well, I'm gonna go right into the,
Things here.
no, while we have the sheriff here and we have, the 911 director here, I was gonna go right into number 8, which is the CAD system. Just to speak with both of you on this, the big question in the room. I'll let you go ahead and go first and I'll ask my question.
Okay. So I've only got two copies of that.
Thank you.
If you want to pass those around. It was asked, of us to kind of break down the costs.
Where him, you guys? I can't hear you.
All right. Go ahead.
So it was asked of us to, get a breakdown of the cost for the maintenance part of the agreement, which is actually less than what we're paying now, and that's for a managed server system, which I think is good. And we're actually adding on more services. That adding on of the services will increase the sheriff's office portion of the maintenance agreement by $3,708.74. We were asked to come up with a memorandum of understanding for how that would be paid. We did do a cost breakdown of the maintenance agreement and came to an agreement that the sheriff's office would pay $10,280 of the total cost, and ETSB would pay for $27,113.74 of that total cost. I did have State's Attorney Devine look over the memorandum of understanding. He said that it looked good, and he would have no issues with that. Again, we have a little bit of an increase to ours, but I think for the added services, it's definitely well worth it. So.
You answered my question. I figured that. Okay.
And the ETSB board did agree to pay for the additional portion for the CAD and the mapping, which added to about $38,000. So they actually reduced the amount of the application that was on the revised application as provided the last meeting. So it went from, I forget what that went.
Here you go. This is number.
Went from 25 or.
Oh, they're both numbered 8. There's.
You went from 258,000 to 219.
219.
At 9, 991.51?
Yep.
And again, for a managed server, situation that we'll be in, that will be, so much less stress, I believe, on the director, because he's not worried about if lightning strikes and the server goes down, and we're responsible for replacing that. It'll be backed up every, I believe, 30 seconds.
And it's every 30 minutes is when it's backed up
Was it
to.
30 minutes?
I don't, it's either 15 or 30 minutes, either way, it's backed up to somewhere in Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
Either way, it's backed up.
So, I mean, in case a tornado, comes through, wrecks the building, it's off-site, so.
It will make you director right away. She'll be there.
The problem is that landing.
No. That's why he'll be director.
Well, it's the sudden stop, it's not
Something different. That's, that was a pastor.
So the change of money, it would be how much for the sheriff?
It'd be an increase of roughly $3,700.
That's, your increase or the increase in the desired funding? Your increase is,
On the maintenance, and that would be.
that's a 1028.
Yes.
That's maintenance down the road, correct?
Currently, we pay $6,571.
Which I appreciate working hard to get that down, because I know originally it was quite eye-opening.
Originally, when we were even discussing this, it was gonna be almost a 50-50 split, but since there was a savings within the ETSB versus our current, ETSB is looking at it and going, we'll go ahead and absorb more of that cost.
That's the agreement between both of them, John. That's the agreement between both of them.
Okay.
Because right now, we don't really have an MOU, it's just kind of broken down, and, we're basically billed by the ETSB for our portion of it.
And this,
Which is fine, but this just kind of makes the language clearer and shores up any issues.
No, it's your, you look at it.
look at it.
He gave us 2 copies, so go ahead and look at it.
And this company is, again, I know its name has changed.
Yeah, Central Square is the name of it.
Central Square.
But we've been with them, with the Emergitech, CAD system for about 20 years.
It was Emergitech.
And they were gonna guarantee all the data transfer, so all the data that we've collected for the last 20 years on suspects, victims, different crimes in the county, that will all be transferred over, including the information from the jail. So,
And they guarantee that?
yeah, it's gonna take some time, but it's definitely well worth it to have that much data from 20 years ago backed up into our system. In our report writing, in our jail, system, and even the CAD, it's gonna be a lot easier to navigate, to provide reports. And this system is something that other departments in the county can join in, and that will help defray the costs, for us, which I think would be huge. I already spoke with the chief of Watsika. They're in a contract with Village Police right now, but he said they would, once the system got up and running, they would be interested in jumping in with us, to help defray the costs.
The good news is when you're talking about defraying the cost, Central Square will also take it and bill it separately. So Iroquois County's not busy spending money and then fishing back after it.
Yeah.
So that is very, very helpful on a financial aspect. Then we're not talking Iroquois County turning into a billing service on top of everything else that's we've done.
We do in times of read everything. That's great.
I guess the problem I still have is there still has been no explanation of how we flip-flopped on the cost of the equipment.
Well, we need
To me, we may say, okay, we can use the ARPA money today, and that's cost of the county. But once you establish this relationship, 20 years from now, when this equipment has to be replaced again, or whenever that happens, now the burden's gonna fall on the county rather than ETSB. So I think we need to get things straight as to how this flip-flop occurred and why before we can go forward with
Well,
this.
the fact of the matter is that we need, the jail and the sheriff's office would need that equipment.
Why didn't Derek present that in the first place then? Why was it presented the way that it was?
At that time, I don't know, that was before my time.
Have to ask Barrett that.
I mean, the
It was something
opportunity.
he was working out with ETSB or Mr. Raymond, okay? The point is, I can understand about the ARPA money, that's fine. I believe we need the equipment, I don't think there's any question about that. The question is, why did this flip-flop occur, and what does it mean going down the road? The next time the equipment has to be replaced, because what's gonna come back is say, oh, well, the county paid the biggest part of it, therefore it's the county's job to pay it again.
Well, I think we've got a very unique opportunity to further our availability to help the citizens in the county through the CAN system.
I understand that, Ken, but I'm saying, how are you gonna handle this thing 20 years from now?
It's really, to put it out there, this
Something
is,
we have to look at.
John, this is federal funds, this isn't Airplay County funds.
20 years from now, it won't be federal funds.
20 years from now, it's still federal funds.
No.
The purchase, that made the
When the
purchase.
when the equipment we're gonna buy now wears out or needs to be replaced, you're setting a precedent as to how much the county pays and
What
how
is-
much ETSB pays.
what is-
So 20 years from now, or whenever it happens, that's gonna be what's gonna be looked at. Oh, the county paid this before, this is what the county has to pay again.
But the county's not paying for this is actually federal funds.
You're
That are
not
being-
You're not understanding me, Paul. 20 years from now, it won't be federal money.
How can you change it from federal funds to
I don't know.
Airplay County money? That's where I'm at a loss, because once it's federal funds,
Because of the total cost of the equipment, ETSB is paying a certain amount, a lesser amount than, the whole thing, the whole arrangement flip-flops.
I understand that.
Okay, so when you say that ETSB is paying a lesser amount now, 20 years from now, that precedent will apply, and then the county has to pay their part. Right now, the county's gonna use ARPA money to pay their part. 20 years from now, there may not be any federal money available. I don't think there will be.
I don't think
You
there will
can't count on that. And what I'm saying is, because you flip-flop, you're setting a precedent that needs to be looked at and identified and agreed upon in advance. Is this what we wanna do? I think the finance committee, if you remember, this was originally presented to the finance committee, and there was concern about that the county was being asked to pay a lesser amount, but even then, why was it so much? Derek was the one that presented that. I wasn't involved in how that was negotiated or arrived at, so I didn't say either. But I think it's a point that we have to look at before we move forward.
John, if they were gonna
I
have,
don't think it's a good idea that we just push it off either, because I think you wanna get this equipment, I think we should do it. But we need to come to some agreement or some understanding on this other part.
so for some agreement or understanding, if you were to put that in the memorandum of understanding,
If you review the history portion of the memorandum, it already talks to the use of ARPA funds.
yes, was it, what they put out there, exactly what he is asking.
Specifically, is there a line item in there that says,
That's what I'm looking for.
in the future, when
Yes.
discussing the replacement of the system, is the emergency telephone system board going to be responsible
Yes.
for those charges? I think we can put something in there and make sure that Jim, gets in front of Jim. Mrs. Stroh has a question as well.
Go ahead.
All right, Donna, go ahead. Don't take a drink.
Kind of like what I was gonna say, we have a memorandum of understanding, so we can clearly document that at this time, when this was purchased, we were using a one-time only ARPA funding for this project, and that by a quirk of circumstances, the county paid a greater share, the county did not pay, funds were available to the county to enable them to make this purchase, that will not be the situation in the future, and it is anticipated or agreed that the funding formula used throughout history will be returned to. That this is an aberration in the history, however Jim Devine wants to word it, but I think that can clearly be laid out in that document and become part of the history. So that it doesn't become an issue in 20 years when we're all dead and gone. Federal funds.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with you, Don, on that. I think historically, people will realize that this is kind of a one-off situation, but we have an opportunity and funds available to better our circumstances with the CAD program. And I think people will understand that these funds were made available and they were utilized the best way possible for the county.
The other question then becomes, and I think maybe that's a solution that what Donna proposed, but then the question becomes, since 911 money, we can't use it for 911 things, are we bending the rules by switching the burden on the county? And then going back again, to me, that's, could be considered a fraudulent activity.
But this is a joint venture with dispatch and
I understand that.
And I think they're willing to pay the $38,000 for the CAD and the mapping portion of it without hesitation. And, that further reduces the amount that we're requesting from the ARPA.
My concern is our liability exposure.
Jill?
I don't think, because it specifically says, with the public health department, 911 having their own boards, that they're not eligible. However, it does state that, they can work in conjunction with the county board in the decision on purchasing or allocating the ARPA funds. With that being said, I do appreciate the fact that in the memorandum of understanding that there is something put in there as far as, future delegation of equipment costs or maintenance fees, simply due to the fact that since taking over this position, 3 years ago, I've had that question, and it's always just been, well, that's how it's always been. So that would be extremely beneficial to include that specific language of how going forward it is gonna be decided through ETSB's future portion of equipment and the sheriff's department's portions of the equipments and costs.
It's certainly likely that none of us will be here when the equipment needs to be replaced, or we would hope that.
Yeah, but somebody said that 20 years ago, and then I was looking for it 3 years ago, and it's been a headache, so.
Whenever it needs to be replaced, the first thing they're gonna do is, well, how was this handled before?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the way we always do things, so that isn't gonna change.
And I think
And
that
it shouldn't change, because that's,
So then going forward in the understanding, then there'll be, it's stated out how it will be
but I
handled
think
going forward.
the other thing is, and then maybe Mr. Devine can offer an opinion on this as well, are we committing a fraudulent act by switching this around the way we are? And then saying, in the future, we'll go back to the way it was. Simply to be able to use more ARPA money to, that's all we're doing is more to be able to use more ARPA money.
And I can ask them, but like Sheldon said, it states clearly that we can work in conjunction with other departments.
I understand that, I still think it's something we ought to explore, or we ought to get an answer to, just to be safe.
Back to the drawing board. Got it.
That way, if we have his opinion, then the responsibility rests on him, and takes
Thank you,
the
Sheriff.
responsibility.
See you in
of-
March.
March?
So since tomorrow's obviously the county board meeting, and I don't want to put pressure on Tim to get this done ASAP, and not have everybody have a chance to look through it, if you would please draw it up again and get an agreement done. And hopefully we can work together in the next meeting.
We can probably make it happen before tomorrow if that's the
I
pressure.
think I would love to, but I really think at this point, put it off another month, to make sure that all.
If it's done, fine. If it's not, that's all right. We'll do it next time.
I would love to put it through. You know how my feeling is. I just think let's wait till next month. 1 month isn't gonna hurt us. I would think maybe there needs to be a conversation between the three of you, or the two of you with John, and make sure that the NORAM is done correctly. And moving forward for next month, we can. March? Yeah, I'll be here in March.
Some of our committee members are leaving.
We're all taking vacations. Oh.
That's why, March.
That's the only issue we're having.
It's March 4th, isn't it? Yeah.
So we'll probably be doing a few days before the board meeting, because a few of us will be gone. Okay. Is that an agreement?
And I wanna repeat again that I'm very, very much committed to the need to get this done. I don't think there's any question about that.
I do see what you're saying, it's
But I
just,
think we need to get it done right, that's all I'm saying, so.
it's frustrating, because we want to
With
help
all
you
the
out.
bases covered, I think we're gonna green light.
We're disappointed.
Alright, thank you.
No, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Glenn.
Going back. Election equipment you're wanting to,
I'm not here for that today. I was here just to see if you guys passed any resolutions.
nope, my question to you is, how are you looking on equipment pricing?
Well, the vendor that I was telling you about that has a new component to their device, they got part of it certified, so they haven't gotten the other part of it certified. So I'm looking like down the road. I mean, we have 2 years for this funding, right, Bill? 2 full years. So I'm looking, hopefully by August, they'll have that second part certified, and
I'm just looking at the
when-
first 2.6 million anyways, that's why I was
that's
just trying
when
to.
I would be looking to possibly get my
Right,
estimates,
as long
is
as-
August, September, something like that. I did talk to them about pricing, they said that they didn't foresee anything crazy going up or anything, because you guys had asked that.
We just haven't really got a price from besides $500,000.
Excuse me?
We just got the $500,000 price, we really didn't get.
Right,
the-
they don't foresee, like, either of the companies don't foresee the
Okay.
equipment increasing
Understand.
by, like, leaps and bounds.
You haven't heard of inflation?
Okay.
Excuse me?
Are you saying you haven't heard of inflation?
No, they have heard of inflation, they just, it's one of those things that, those things don't sell every day. It's about every 20 years that they sell, so, the price that they were in January are probably not going to go up more.
In any case, the goal is to have the equipment available for the next consolidated election.
The goal is to have the equipment and get my judges trained after the consolidated election and start in the presidential
I wanna
primary.
work together on that one. We gotta start getting something pushed through.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear everything you said.
So the goal is to get the equipment and get my judges trained after the consolidated election, because I don't feel like there's going to be enough time between the general and the consolidated to get my judges trained on new equipment. There's going to have to be several training sessions, so
So that's in the 2024 election cycle.
it's the 2024 primary is what I wanna have, but I wanna have it by summer of 2023 or spring, summer of 2023 to start that
I thought it was,
training.
but then it got pulled out.
I believe the last, county board meeting we pushed through.
With your microfilm, conversion, you have the quote, right?
Yeah, that was from
I can get a
the,
copy of that?
yeah,
Okay. I just don't have it with the application.
sure.
That's all.
Didn't we push it all the time? We pulled it back.
It was approved and it got pulled back, so that was my question is,
Right. I was wondering about that. That's between the courts and
Yes,
and that one is number 6. And why did we pull that back?
because.
Oh, because you
um,
thought he was asking for Cadillacs and we thought Chevrolets would do better?
no, that was
No.
in regards to the cats.
That was a
That
cat
was the Cadillac.
I pulled it back because of the pricing, because of who was being put it in. They didn't actually have the professionalism that we had.
Right, and so we got
It has been changed.
a new quote.
You know what?
We should have asked him that while he was here.
Do you want me to see if he's still here.
Yeah, he gave you,
I think Paul's calling me. I'm sure.
We'll try.
he gave you a new quote, which was, the old quote was for area-wide at $18,095.46. The new quote was
19,000.
through, yeah,
19,500.
But you know
was
what?
through Keys Electric at $19,500.
Right, I remember all of that, but I can't find that quote.
It should be attached to your application.
Well, I've got application number 6. Do I have a 6?
I got it.
I got it, here it is, I found it. So we've got two.
Pull it out.
I got one.
So
Application.
what's the amount?
19,500, here's this one.
19,500.
Here it is, see, that's what I got.
Number 6.
And then there would
I got
be,
it there somewhere.
John, there would be additional costs because area-wide would still have to assist, with communicating with our servers at $100 an hour.
I remember all that.
And we approved up to 1,000, how did we word that? We approved the additional cost to area wide at up to $1,000.
I would
Okay.
like to.
So that's gonna go to the county board tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, that's what that was my question, because I couldn't recall.
Yes.
And honestly, I didn't have the time to go back and look at the minutes.
You're okay.
I just wanted to verify so I can get checks ready, because I did get the final, acceptance letter approval from Jim Devine, so I did cut checks for those
It was
that had been approved.
19.5
Oh,
plus an
fantastic.
additional $1,000 for area-wide portion.
Thank you.
So as we're going through the audio and video room we passed on then, for the 4,500?
It's going to county board tomorrow,
Okay, that's the audio and video.
yes.
The audio,
That's not the video court and telehealth. I don't wanna confuse you.
No, it's the video court and telehealth.
Yeah. And that was the only one, correct?
So do we need to make a new motion today and a resolution to pass?
No,
the
it's
new-
already been made, it's going to the county board meeting tomorrow.
Do we
the
need it
audio,
amended
video.
because of the price?
No, I think it was already included.
We made a motion, we rescinded a motion, and then John made a motion for the 19.5 plus $1,000 for area-wide. That's going to the board tomorrow.
Okay, fantastic.
The other motion was to adopt the resolution to reimburse the $4,500 for the audio and video for the investigation room.
Okay,
Those are going to the board tomorrow.
those are the only two going to the full board tomorrow?
Correct.
and the full body and scanner's already been done, and the sheriff to get the pricing for that?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have actually spent with what we approved, but the 4,500 is not in there, is it, Jill? Oh, well,
I will tell you here in just a second what you've already approved. So now that's in there. So far, what has been approved is $530, or $530,298.12.
530,000 what?
$298.12.
And the full board has to vote on that, yeah?
Tomorrow, that will be voted on tomorrow.
Okay. We're voting on those two sheriff
Yes,
projects.
just two for the sheriff, we're gonna go on tomorrow, which is the.
Number 5 and 6 will be voted on tomorrow.
And this, the telework and all.
The resolutions will be brought to the county board.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Go ahead.
When you get where you want to
Nope.
be.
I'm ready.
Jill, you promised us a list dividing out, into sections like villages
So what
and.
I kind of came up with, and this is just, you know,
Yes, thank you.
a recommendation, however you wanna take it, was splitting the allocations up into administrative costs, infrastructure to include any villages, towns, or cities, public safety to include fire, EMS, or policing services, parks and recreations to include any park districts, schools, and libraries, business assistant for revenue replacement or other needs, public health for hospitals, nursing facilities, and other entities and county services for any county projects, as well as community outreach for churches, community centers, and individuals.
I wanna see everybody kind of take
Oh, good, another form. This is,
I like to see somebody have no job.
so, going over this,
Looking for.
No.
So
that's how much
what I
they-
was,
That's what we have.
just a recommendation kind of
She
looking
just
at to
broke
give
it
you a
up. because
guideline
she's-
of, expenditures and requests. So administration costs, I was looking at approximately 3% of total funds. Infrastructure for any villages, towns, or cities to be at 18%. Public safety at 11%. Parks and recreation to be at 3%. Business assistance to be at 8%. Public health, to be at 14%. County services, including any county projects, at 39%, and community outreach at 6% of our total allocation costs.
did you base those percentages of allocations on what we've already received?
I have, so we'll take, public safety into account. Mutual Aid Fire Association was already awarded $350,000, which would benefit all 33 of the fire department entities, for a multi-use building facility. And with that being said, that would also allow for approximately $7,000 per the 33 entities for any sort of, assistance they may need or apply for. Give you an example, I know that Sheldon EMS turned in an application for an ambulance. It's not the full amount, but since we've already provided assistance through the Mutual Aid Fire Association, it would be something to help towards their project, so.
So no doubt this is going to be a shifting set of numbers.
It'll always be.
Right, it was
shifting.
just I was speaking with Paul, and it seemed like some sort of guidelines would be appropriate,
I think
to
it's
help
good
you
to
in making
have.
decisions, so.
It's very good to have, it'll be a good tool, thank you.
Thank you.
Kind of overall looking at how we could help out the county, try to get everybody involved and getting some help and helping with any future mitigations that we may have.
So everybody we talked to today is coming back with additional information, so they go back in the pot.
That would be correct.
And we have new applications, so which way are you steering the committee today?
Well, I'm just going through it and trying to see if there's something here we can do. That's why I was talking to administration at the county first level, because our main goal is helping out them, which helps out the majority of people within the county.
No, you're still in there, just reviewing applications.
Got you.
I guess one question I would have is that we have 4 applications regarding water and sewer projects. Are we still looking for information on those?
No, they have provided their financials to me.
At the same time, I have others I'm gonna be going to see in other districts to see what they need for applications to help out
Wait,
their
taking-
communities.
Yeah, and taking into account the 20, city, town, and villages that reside in the county, it's kind of how I came up with that recommended number.
And my question is on these 4 applications that we have, is this something that we wanna move on now, or do we wanna wait until we get all the applications in countywide that relate to water and sewer projects?
I would like to talk to a few more towns before we move on it, but at the same time, I'd actually like to do some movement on these also.
Well, what about?
I know, that's the problem though. I don't have good applications.
What numbers do we have for the new applications? 41 or something?
I
Yeah.
think we should
We
move on it
only
because
have
they came forth for their town.
1 through 45.
The ones for Danforth and Onarga are in total, I guess.
Well, for the village of Anarga,
$100,000.
right, for the village of Anarga, the sidewalk, ADA compliant,
No, the side, I'm not talking about the sidewalk. They said that the one for sewer grinders, that was their #1 priority, the
For
sidewalk.
the 49,300.
And we've got everything we need for that.
in mind too that, of course, you wanna ask for what you know, it'd be wonderful if we can give 100% to everybody that
I don't
applied,
think you can.
but you can't. So in order to assist everybody and every entity as much as possible, these are just recommended numbers that I got together for you.
But if we're gonna do that, then we have to wait till we get all the applications in and see how they total up.
Pretty much, yes. That's, I understand why you said what I said.
Again, it's a recommendation.
Are we
Take
gonna
it how you would
establish,
like it.
are we gonna establish a cutoff date for applications?
At least for
Correct.
the first.
The towns also got their own ARPA funds.
And they also will be allowed to reapply.
Right.
It should shut up on what we're doing. Put it from your own, that's what I got the first one, so second one.
If we were gonna do something for towns, I see each town at about $30,000. I don't see,
And that's up to you. Again, these are just.
No, but
just
you understand
something I
where
put
you
together.
understand where I'm
You can
coming
adjust the
from.
numbers, yeah.
And I understand as well, but then does that put us in the position of, well, we can put this money in the bank, but we've gotta come up with the additional funding because we can't complete the project? I mean, I
Well, that'll be
know,
on them.
I know, but
to
we,
complete the project.
but then there'll be reporting. There'll be reporting.
They take funds, they should know that it covers the project. If it doesn't cover the project.
Number 22,
I
I'll look at
think
that
they
one.
know that.
Do you have 22 I can look at, please? I don't wanna waste everybody's time today, I'm sorry.
I know.
It feels like we're here at every free time forever. 22 is the village of Danforth, I don't have that.
22 and 23, I have.
We got it.
Right.
Did 22 come up with for the village of Danforth, an exact amount? Because they just asked for I
But
believe,
remember, they had two. Here's the second one. I think you have to read them in conjunction.
I know we had a long conversation with them.
They provided me with their financials. They also provided us with the, estimates that they received from Haley Brothers, as well as quotes from Midwest Meter, which they've already talked to all this, as well as Jayhawk Software for the meter. I believe that was the meter reader payment system that they would need. They also provided the CU plumbing estimate preparation. They provided a scope of work, as well as,
Did they give us pricing? I'm sorry, that's the only thing
yes,
I'm
they
looking for.
did.
And it's the same, then it didn't change?
That's what the, no, that's what they originally,
Here's
Kinda
22
do it.
and 23, like I did. They have the pricing now.
You're not finding what you want?
No.
here,
What you want?
Quote.
During what you're going
Uh-uh. Quote. You're fine. I gotta get up and move around anyway and stuff. Isn't this fun, Jerry?
I am enjoying this.
They gave us
Very
some
good show.
$22,000 for 5, asking for 30. So is it the quote for 22,000, but can't provide, asking for 30,000 overages?
if I remember correctly, that was their quote, and the additional request was to provide for any, unforeseen costs that may be incurred.
I've also got a general scope of description, and that total investment quantity was $28,740.
Okay.
So, before we move any further on this, sorry, I'm still going over everything. That's for the water meters,
We don't have that information, do we?
water meters. No, we don't.
Get this information too?
Well, my note notes say here, the 75,000 was paying for meters, installation is 23,000 plus overruns. So that was of the 75,000 they were asking for, including, or in addition, new computer software. I didn't make any
Wow,
notes.
brother.
No.
That makes it,
I don't know how that's gonna work. You understand?
Well, that's true.
Yeah. So,
At this point, it's up to the committee what they would like to award, because they explained it the last time,
they did,
that the overage was for any unforeseen expenses other than the quote, so.
the quote you believe is the 28,740.
That's what I believe it was
I like it.
explained in the last.
How do we explain this though? We're gonna have to ask for an estimate from them.
Might be a-
Reason being, that's, I don't know how far we're gonna go on this, Jill, but that's Miles' brother. I don't see we should be doing that. Could I ask you to send them an email and tell them to get another quote? We're gonna have to hold off.
I guess one question we might wanna ask them is if we awarded them the actual amount of the quote and they were responsible for the overages, would that work?
Right, that's
The overages is a gray area.
correct. The 28,740 would be correct. The only problem though, John, that's also Lyle's brother that would be doing the work, so we may have to look for somebody else that may do that.
I would do it.
That's a problem. I would have to abstain from voting on it.
Yeah, that's the only thing. That would be my opinion.
Okay, ask for a second quote though. That way, I don't want anybody coming back and saying, you understand what I'm saying? I don't wanna have a conflict of interest at all. So we're gonna change the,
I think to answer your question, Paul, even though there may not be blood relatives involved, we have obviously situations where people are familiar, like Thomas, Milford, I think.
Right.
I'm familiar with
Barbara's
Gilman.
familiar
Right.
with Gilman, and so, I mean, you
It's gonna,
got that aspect of it as well.
it's gonna be
I
hard.
totally agree with you, but I don't wanna be,
But even though
Maybe
they're familiar,
conflict.
they're not gonna be accepting funds. for-
right, but I don't wanna be,
No, I understand what you're saying, and I can do that. But I agree with John, if Lyle sustains, then that should be.
okay, so if you will ask the question of $2,740. would
You had
be-
asked me about the microphone conversion as well.
Yes, so that's the other one I got right now, and she's still here.
I know,
Thanks for putting up this brief, appreciate it.
absolutely. Next motion.
Isn't this the most interesting stuff you've ever heard?
Well, it's new territory for everybody.
All right, so we got number 4, the county clerk and recorder for the microfilm conversion for $76,720.50.
And we have a firm quote on that, is that, without.
That was the firm quote, that
It's not
the
included.
fiddler vendor assured me was the exact same quote
have
that
any
you guys
questions?
looked at
Good,
in November
No,
of
I thought you said
2020.
you gave up.
because I was happy with
So
everything too
she
on this
told
one.
me exact same quote is what it would be to do this. We were going to try and get, CARES funding for it, and chose not to go that way because there were recorders right and left getting rejected for it, so, we didn't move forward on it, but I did talk to our vendor, before I submitted the application, and she said that the quote that it was in November of 2020 is what, right, is what I will be able to move forward and.
I move that we adopt a resolution for the microfilm conversion application of the county clerk and recorder in the amount of $76,728.50.
Charlie seconded. Roll call vote. Is there any discussion on this? I know,
you don't have this?
What do you mean?
Well, what if it's not, approved? What happens if you don't get that?
Well, this is just to get, documents online, to get documents from 1980 to 1989 scanned, indexed, and available online. So,
The
searchers,
paper rots and crumbles.
well, that microfilm does, but I still have to have microfilm. So it would be accessible to, like, in a COVID situation, and this is how you relate it to COVID, if people can't come into the office, they would be able to do, like, title searchers would be able to do their research online. And this would take us back 40 years, so it would be, like, long enough that, it would be a standard search, so, if someone was refinancing, they would be able to, go and get the documents online, like the bank would be able to do that, to see if there were any liens and that sort of thing, and to, remotely access our documents. It's something that I could go back to the beginning of 1835 and, try and get all of them on, but,
I guess
a
my
40-year search is the,
My question is, how is this COVID related?
well, like I said, it allows, like, title searchers to not have to come into the office if we were, closed. And it would also allow for a banking institution to look at documents online, to look for any liens or anything like that. But after the new final rule, it doesn't technically have to be COVID related for county business.
That's why I said things change.
Yes, the interim rule and the final rule have changed, so, but this, I can come up with something more COVID related than the election devices. The only thing I could come up with on that is revenue loss, and Jill's having a hard time with that.
Yeah.
But this one, I definitely, can back up the COVID related, it would keep people out of the office. We can't disinfect the books that they would have to touch, things like that.
Is there any other discussion? Take a roll call vote.
Crump,
Yes.
Awful,
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Ducat.
Yes.
Do we have
Motion passed.
an application, Jill? Do we have an application from the old board?
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is
I don't have that number on
number
it.
33.
Oh,
okay.
hello. Do we wanna take a look at that? That is a bugaboo that has been a problem.
It's $215,000, that's.
And we did request additional information,
I know people would love it, but how much does it cost?
we did request some additional information, and this
Have
was
we got
one that,
anything?
not yet, this was
Oh,
one that
okay.
we requested a representative at our next
My
meeting.
point is, and I'm not necessarily saying I'm against anything, but, that's kind of like a white elephant.
No, it's like swimming pools, it's gonna go on forever.
For the swimming pool, they're only asking for $9,000, not $215,000.
And this might be a situation that we could do.
A part of it, you're right, I agree.
Which would benefit the county since we're gonna own that building into perpetuity.
I agree, and that's why they've been asked to the next meeting to come back and represent themselves and have a conversation with them already.
Yeah, I have Iroquois Mental
Yeah.
Health and the Iroquois County Historical Society that have been requested for the next meeting. Is there
Did I
anything else?
miss that email?
We don't need to go into this.
Okay,
Um,
okay. All right, that's good.
It's coming.
Do we have another conversation with the county treasurer on the cameras anymore? Are we just holding off on that until he has a better,
He requested that he be at the next one.
okay, fantastic.
When's the next meeting?
We haven't figured it out.
March 4th. No, we set a standing date
March fourth.
after,
Yes, it's
after
fantastic.
the highway meeting
I was
at 10 a.m.
teasing.
So
I was
it's
only
March
teasing.
4th.
Well, I can't tease about that.
No,
Put your foot down.
Highway meeting, you're driving for all these?
Yep.
I am,
Trail.
yes. Well, we got you here, we wanna keep you, Charlie, that's all.
I thought you'd wanna get rid of them.
No, we kinda like you, we'll keep you around.
Don't flatter me.
That's what you pay me to do.
Yeah, I have always had to pay for that in the past,
There you go, I quit now. Yeah, so for the next meeting, I have mental health, the historical society and art.
Just have far enough in between.
We're waiting on invoices?
When we were.
And we can should get this done before now.
Yes.
We're good. Well, now that I got my
Mr.
paperwork
Lynch?
from Jim, we can
That's what
Did you have any,
roll on.
what are we looking for, invoices?
I brought some in.
Oh, you did bring them in?
Were they enough?
Where?
I also brought in financial
Okay.
from the last year taxes.
That's number 17. Here's number 4 back. Thank you.
I didn't bring all the receipts in because I'll just save that for the IRS. We did try to buy, I can't say everything for the county, we did try to buy a portion for the county.
That's right, Bunker. They can hear you easier.
I'm sorry. We did try, you know, we didn't buy everything for the county, we do usually try to do that to an extent.
It's impossible to buy everything.
Yeah, but, you know, Menards is tremendously not cheaper when it comes to
Yep.
wood. Now, most of the appliances and stuff, they did come from the county. We didn't go big box store on that.
I don't either. And the people in the county do service too.
Yes, that's another reason to do it, yeah. I guess there's almost a mistake on there. We did apply for another county, whatever you call that. There was a thing for renter's assistance, I did bring that up last time I talked to you guys. And because the renter moved out, we were not allowed to get that. Okay? And also, that's,
So
that
there's
was
an
through,
application, but you didn't receive anything, right?
no, it was turned down.
Yeah, okay.
It said no way. And that also came from Cook County. It seems like they're giving money to their renters or so. I don't know how that works. Yes.
Jill, what section are we putting this under? Individuals, that,
Um,
Doesn't sound like it has that number.
yeah, I think that's what I still,
what,
I think that's what I had it on.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I believe that's what I had it on. Yeah,
You said you had a squatter too?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm sorry, no.
No, it's mine.
because it
You're
would
okay.
be an individual assistance.
I mean, you
It's not
stayed here
technically a
without me.
business.
Same thing,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
He was there for almost 9 months and we couldn't get rid of him.
Just goes to the court system trying to.
You couldn't evict anybody during COVID.
Right.
least able to put a lien against them?
You know, she wants to do that, we haven't done that.
I would,
For a lien, there has to be a judgment, you're looking for.
right, yeah, well,
Right.
yes.
I mean, we finally got it.
You get what I'm saying, it's frustrating as runners, we get some runs too. And I know exactly what you dealt with. We had somebody, same thing, sat for 4 months until we got judgment, and then we had to do something because known for that.
We don't feel like he's riding a bicycle now, we don't feel he has anything.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, that is a situation.
Right.
Person I'm talking about had a Cadillac, so.
Oh, well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's.
So you've asked for about half, right?
Yes, we, at the time, really didn't know we spent that much. Because we sat down, almost brought us to the divorce.
When finished,
Is this property rented now with all the improvements you made,
Yes,
and you're happy with your rent?
yes.
It's none of my business, but.
And we sold, the renter that's in it now sold her property. So now that raised her, the taxes on that first house. And that renter was, I mentioned that, she was a senior citizen. And so, you know, that property was down on the exemption.
if the board decided for a lesser amount, would you be able to keep it going and be able to take care of everything?
Sure, I see how you guys are operating. I'd like to say something, but it has nothing to do with that.
No, I would love to help everybody out in the county. Being the third largest county in the state and only getting $5.2 million is really a punch more than anything. Like I've said before, you've been in all the meetings, no matter what, it's tax dollars. I don't care how they want to name it. And the best thing you want to do is something that's always for the majority of people.
Right. Well, I see,
Like
I
the fire
see
department.
people here
Yeah.
that would give, in my eyes, would give their shirt off their
Yes,
back.
you are correct.
Yet the hospital would turn me in the collections just like that too, and you guys didn't ask any questions of them. Of course, now I did not see the paperwork either.
It's a tough decision, is what
I'm
it is.
sure.
And like I said, I wish I could help myself out too. I
Yeah.
got some issues
Yeah,
too
I
myself.
understand.
But, I mean, we're not lucky enough. Go to Kankakee County, they got what, over 20 million?
Really?
Yeah.
I'd like to hear where they spent.
They went ahead and they actually hired a committee,
That's what you were saying.
and there's another $500,000 gone.
Oh, true.
Thinking of your rest.
Yeah. So we can discuss that. John, are you done with it?
Am I done with it?
I don't know if you looked at it all, I'm sorry.
I've looked at it. I guess.
Concerning your taxes, you were negative $2,168.
That, yes, cause he quit paying rent. before.
Correct. And just asking the question, if this board was to do the desired funding of around $5,000, could you keep the housing going?
If I say,
The rental
give me
fees.
10, but no.
No, I.
Yes, we can, yeah.
You understand where I'm coming from.
Yes, I understand.
If that's what you, go ahead and, I mean, discuss it.
Well,
I I'm totally, I understand, I'm looking also at for individuals, 6%, if you're talking churches, community centers, we got it. You know, she was in Gilman, I'd love to help them because they're an awesome facility. The Gilman Garage. So, I mean, that's, if you wanna go ahead and make that motion resolution, then we can discuss it. That was the number I came up with, I'm sorry. If you think of something else, yeah, if you want to do that one, Donna, go with it. No, 45. Yeah. Yes, for 45.
That's for 45.
Donna? Donna,
Yeah,
make your motion resolution for that number.
I move we adopt a resolution to reimburse Lori Lenz in the amount of $6,000. I compromised.
I second it. If you can change it,
Can you read it again?
This goes to the county board for approval, right?
Yes, sir.
I think so.
Okay, wait a minute. We seem to have some discussion here. Go ahead, John. John.
You wanna amend that?
I think 7 is a better number, amend it to that. I can't hear you.
7,000. We have discussion on it?
I'm good with it. That was my number.
No,
I
it's-
compromised with yours.
No, like I said, I'd love to give them the full 23,000 issue with.
You know, that's it. It's like sitting here with Santa Claus. We want to give everybody money.
Well, of
you know?
course.
I agree.
What's your thoughts?
I second it.
Okay.
Donna, you said 7,000.
John made the amendment. If
Okay.
it's cleaner, you want me to amend it?
No, I don't, I'm just. I
What-
didn't
However
remember.
that works.
So are we doing
7.
7? Do we need to do motion and amended motion, or what do we?
Didn't vote on it.
Yeah,
So
I'll
we'll vote on
amend
it.
my motion to 7,
To 7, okay.
pursuant to John's discussion. Is that a neater, cleaner way to keep records?
Any more discussion on this? All right, make that roll call vote, please.
Crow,
Yes.
Awful, yes, Sure,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Dukenyak.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Now,
Thank
will this
you.
be going
I'm
to the
still
full
gonna
board
stay.
tomorrow?
Yes.
You're
I'm
good.
learning quite a bit.
That's okay.
Well, from the last meeting to the next meeting, I have 39 or 43 more pages that I've been reading of how they've changed, the federal laws changed again on this.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
They change it all the time.
I was happy that right away we got the fire department through. I'm just happy that went pretty fast.
So we got 3 that they're being voted on.
Yes, you should have the microfilm conversion. You should have the sheriff, and then you should have, Mr. Lenz.
You want to look at rapid assessment? Number 11. Want to look at number 11?
Can we look at number 11, please?
I read the way down.
Okay. Do you think that goes on the-
Rapid assembly for the employee funding, since they did not work at all. Since they didn't work at all for a while because of COVID.
I do.
You wanna wait?
Well, John would rather wait and look at that together with pre-K. So do you want to look at?
I would
that
rather
as
look at
well?
full premium pay.
Okay.
If that's okay.
I'm good.
What? John, I'd like to look at that before premium pay. Somebody who's an individual like that had gotten nothing.
That's not exactly premium pay.
Individual.
It's an individual.
That'd be all right with me, except that I would rather, if we're gonna do premium pay, immediately before that, we can look at that one.
I don't want to do premium pay right now.
Right,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
We're gonna do premium pay last.
At this point, my thought is, John, these individuals got no money because of lack of work. I think they could probably use the money now.
Well,
Not
I guess what I would say then, what we're looking at, and I touched on a little bit earlier, as we make these awards, are we encouraging others in the county to step forward and make similar claims? Are we, you made the comment earlier that maybe we can't give out the full amount. So I've countered with saying, well, are we gonna have a cutoff date on the applications? Somewhere along the line, I think some of these things maybe we do need to look at and come to some decisions how the committee wants to operate, because if you give this money to the bicycle guy, I'm not saying that the money wouldn't be well spent or maybe deserved, but there's other places in the county that may have a similar situation
We got one today.
and haven't said anything yet, so. Well, in other words, is that gonna trigger a flood of applications of a similar nature? And if you gave some to one, how can you deny others?
I have a question, the 48,000, what's that include? Is that just from,
That's just for,
He reduced,
wages?
he reduced it
Yeah.
down.
what is it?
Was it 36?
Jill will know.
And it's.
It was just for his employees, it wasn't even for him. Yeah.
Yeah, he reduced it down quite a bit, but the point is, if this triggers other applications, then, you can't deny one.
Or is it a situation of first come, first served, and we got here to the table first, and
All I'm
sorry,
saying,
the money's.
all I'm saying is, I think the committee needs to consider these things and make a decision how we wanna operate. If we wanna do first come, first serve and give them what they want, and then we're out of money, sorry, you're too late. Or do we wanna set a cutoff date saying all applications should be in by such and such a time, and then we'll go through them
And sort of try to divvy them up according to our graph here.
I think that's kind of what we're gonna need to be looking
If
at.
we do that, I would just do this.
Can I
That's what I'm
comment,
saying.
Paul?
No, go ahead.
If we make everybody considered that need money, I'll bet we have 100% of the county wait long enough.
That's probably right, that's what I'm saying, but I think we needed to make some decision.
And I think all of them deserve it, not everybody's gonna get it.
But, and the other thing is, if we decide to let's say we decide to set a cutoff date, I think we need to publicize that as well as
No,
we
I
can.
think we set up when we run out of money, when we know we can't give anymore.
Some way or other, I
That's,
think. I mean, there's people,
You can't
it's
predict who's
amazing
gonna
how
be and when.
I run into people all the time and say, oh, I didn't know anything about that.
Right, I mean, that's not quite fair.
I know.
But it's been put out there on the radio. and it's been
This
put out.
isn't the same thing, but it's an example of how people don't know. A few weeks ago, I was talking to a man about the county board and the way we operate, and I said, we begin every meeting with a prayer. Oh, I never knew that.
well,
I mean,
this is the world we
So what's
live
new?
in.
But again, they should've came to the county board.
Now, with this specific,
It's
for
just
the
an
Rapid
example
Assembly,
of
his
people
profit
don't
and
know.
loss from his business that he, provided me, that showed a loss of $28,023.
So,
That's not including employees, correct? Not getting paid because they couldn't work.
Well, that just, to me, the only thing that Mr. Jolinski provided was his profit and loss from his business. So if he lost that amount of money from his business and then whatever his employees lost, I don't know.
Right.
Because he didn't provide any. What I would suggest is see if he could provide some sort of, schedule of hours lost or wages lost. For the employee specifically, because I do have the business loss sheet, which is fantastic. But if his request is for funds for his employees, I would like to see some sort of,
He
employee
had-
records for time lost.
but
No, if
it's,
he,
he's asked under public sector employee.
all right,
So you're saying we need some numbers to back that up?
Right, because what he's wanting to do is to ask for funding to give to his employees, which is fantastic. But what I have is a profit and loss for his business specifically. What I think that needs to be requested of Mr. Jelinski is his employee, work records, how many hours lost.
But now, this is a little incongruent. He's applied under 2.7, which is job training assistance, subsidized employment, employment supports or incentives, so that's on point. But he's also applied under 2.9, small business economic assistance, general.
Right,
And then-
which I have the documents to support
To
the second
support
one.
that.
Okay.
The first
So
one
he-
I do not.
So he could, I guess, in my mind, I'm thinking, he's gonna take his check, go put it in the check, and write all of his employees a check. Say, you know, that's what we hope. But, with the 2.9 in there, he could say, I'm keeping 50% of what I get, and I'm divvying up the rest of it. So, I guess we need some clarification there, because I think we're operating on the premise that it's going to the employees directly.
Right, and that's kind of what he put it at, is that it was going towards the employees. However, with the 2.9 for small business assistance, he did provide his financials showing that he had a $28,000 loss.
Now, I do have.
That
notes-
you could approve, but as far as any of the requested amount for, you know, recouping employees' loss, I don't have any documentation on how many hours they worked, how many hours they lost.
We don't have the documentation, but I do have notes here that say he had 6 employees.
Mhm.
He shut down all appointments, he laid off 4, 2 employees worked 20 hours a week. And they repair and assemble bicycles. So was he asking for, well, I'm amazed, that's quite a business, isn't it?
Yeah, so I mean, if it's just clearly on a revenue loss for the business, he provided those financials for $28,000, so.
How much of that was depreciation?
I have the financials, would you like to look at them?
No.
I think we ought to wait on this one, we have a lot of questions.
Maybe we should ask him,
Has he been here?
so
Yeah,
you
he's
wanna
been here.
put this down, yes, he's been here once. You wanna put this just so he had a premium payment, is that what you wanna do? I'm.
He's proved that he's lost money, lost
Right.
28,000.
So he couldn't pay employees.
Right, so we know. Do you wanna go with that number?
I mean, that would be my recommendation, and what he chooses to do with that if he wants to pay his employees off, that's whatever, that's up to him. But as far as a revenue loss, he provided documentation for $28,023.
Just do the, Jill, was it 6 or 8 employees he had?
I think he said 6,
My notes say 6,
yeah.
and it looked like, if in my notes, laid off 4 slash
That's a lot of employees for a bicycle repair.
2 employees at 20 hours
I
a
know what you're
week.
saying, John.
Usually one person, maybe a part-timer.
Unless he's doing it for Walmart,
That's what he does.
He would say
That's-
so.
does he do that?
His employees travel to the Walmart stores and put together bicycles.
Well, that makes a lot more sense.
Why didn't he say that in his application?
That, I don't know. I just know what he does.
So, do you wanna take 6 employees, divide by 5, or times 5?
I think, you know, I mean, information like that. gives
I
us
don't
a
have enough
better
information to do employees. If I was you, if you wanted to approve anything, I would approve 28,000.
Don't go anymore.
No, I think
Nobody-
Not at this time. If he
That's what he
wants to,
put
if
down.
he wants to, I
Nobody
mean,
really
to
does.
me, if he's trying to do extra pay for his employees, I need some sort of hours lost,
You look at-
breakdown.
Yeah, he could do that, but like, I would go along with that.
You wanna do 1,000 and 1 naked?
Which is, also
It doesn't matter to me.
whatever you want to do, Barb, you make this one.
You go.
That's totally your decision.
You go. move to adopt a resolution of $28,000 awarded to Rapid Assembly Incorporated to
Someone
take
second that?
before the full board.
All right, any discussion on it? Actually, do I need a second? You want a second? You want a second? All right, thank you, Donna. Now do we have discussion on it?
The amount was what?
28,000, that's how much you lost.
And what they asked,
Public rep assembly, plate funding, 48,000, because he has proof that he only lost 28,000.
is proof of that, we should have it.
Okay. Is there any discussion else wants to be done on it? All right, a roll call vote.
Crone,
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
All,
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Motion passes.
so how many are we putting out there tomorrow for?
Five.
Jill? you
5.
Good?
5.
You have the video,
Yeah.
Audio
for
and
the
video.
sheriff, and
the
then you
video
also have
report,
the telehealth for
5
the
and
sheriff.
6.
And then you have the Rapid Assembly,
11.
Microfilm.
Lori Lenz, and the
Oh, yes.
microfilm.
Yes.
Just do the numbers, will you please?
I have 6 of them altogether.
Well, who's the sixth one?
Okay, I will read
Just
them to
call
you.
off the.
Let me read them to you. Give me just-
Number 4 is the county clerk and recorder for microfilm conversion. Number 5 is for audio and video for the sheriff. Number 6 is for the sheriff.
Mhm,
Number 11 is for rapid assembly.
mhm.
Number 17 is for Mr. and Mrs. Lenz.
Yep.
And that's it as of right now. What do you have?
I have the county clerk and recorder microfilm, the
Yes.
sheriff audio and video investigation room. I have the sheriff video court and telehealth.
Mhm.
I have,
Assembly.
rapid assembly. I also have Lori Lenz.
That should be it.
Yeah.
We have 5, so we're both on the same page. All right, moving forward. Is there any old business?
Yes.
What do you need to do? They're gonna be,
Should we go through these? Yeah. Or are we
the rest of us know.
Oh, that's fine.
Are you good, Bill? All right, any new business? March 4th, after transportation. Remember we set that as a precedent?
That's the set date going forward is after highway, 10 o'clock.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
No, you haven't asked for old business yet,
I
did you?
just did. I asked,
I
asked for
have
all.
old business, I'd like to follow up, piggyback on what John's
Sure.
concern is. Let's decide how we're going forward, because we all know we have some big
Numbers.
numbers that we really
Yeah.
need to chew up. And I would like to, well, we can't do it March 4th, and you're gonna be gone, and I'm gonna be
Oh, you're
gone.
March 4th.
Well, I'll be here March 4th, but prior to that, there's a 2-week span where,
Mhm.
we might. I would like to decide how we're gonna go forward, when we're gonna set a working committee date to sit down and scratch our heads and say, what are we gonna do with these big requests? We have another big request here today, and, or if we're gonna take it, I guess maybe informally we decided, first come, first served, I'm not clear on that. Or if we're gonna set a cutoff date, but I think we need to have a meeting where people can come and listen, cause they're public. But where we need to sit down at that table and scratch our heads and decide what we wanna do, how we wanna move forward with some of these big
You
ones.
can set your April meeting to be your working meeting.
I think we're gonna do that March 4th anyways, because we have to. Every single one of these, I mean, we've already spent what, 3 hours here today,
I know, but we've got,
or 2 hours, going on 3?
we've got 4 new applications, and I bet we've got 6 by March.
And we've got people coming that are gonna be presenting their applications. And all we can do is keep going through
We
it.
even have one coming for some upgrades to this room.
Yeah.
I like a nice cushy chair.
And I get where you wanna make a date of a cutoff.
No,
But
I
you-
don't
but-
necessarily
but
wanna
we
make
can't.
nothing to
Just
do
predict the
with
future, shall we?
I just
That's the
wanted,
problem.
well, and that's why I'm hoping.
We can't predict the future, who's gonna show, who's not, and we can't, it's been told to everybody. I mean, Mr. Lynch, how did you hear about this?
Yeah, that's a big question.
I might have heard it on the radio and then looked up on your website.
So you took the time to, look into, would be something I could say.
Right, but I can say now, it's not, when I go to the Iroquois County website, it's not on the first thing anymore. Okay?
It's on the website, though, you can look it
It
up.
is, but you have to dig for it.
Yeah, for
Right.
the daily news, or the news.
Yeah,
It'll
that's-
be
that's
your
all I'm
top
saying.
items, yeah.
Yeah, you have to dig, it's farther back. But,
It's a good point. We should make it very accessible on our site.
We
It
can't,
is, you go right to I want to, and it's
Yeah.
right
Okay.
there.
I just would like to be able to sit down, take some of these big ones, chew them up, get each one another's thoughts, and decide what we're gonna do.
And I think we need to do it every month.
Not and postpone your trip and we'll do it.
Now, let's not get carried away.
Well, come on, it's important. Geez, I hear how important it is. I think I'll run away too. I'd love to go to Hawaii.
But Mr. Lynch, thank you, that's, my point is, we can't really set a date because you took the time to look into it.
Yeah.
And you saw that the county had the available funds, you were hoping that somehow you would get something positive out of it, if anything. You got to sit in a nice warm building for 3 or 4 hours every month, I'm sure you enjoyed that. But,
We're sorry we interrupted your trip to wherever it is where Donna's going, you know.
Hey, Paul's gonna be gone longer than I am.
but anyways, thank you so much. Great.
Well, I was just looking at the agenda, and like your agenda from today and the agenda that's posted for the board meeting tomorrow. And there's nothing on there on taking action on anything besides the 4 applications that were on the agenda for today, which was breadbasket.
Yeah.
And the 4 that you talked about. So I don't know if you should move forward on the Lens, Rapid Assembly, and Clerk and Recorder, because they are not on the county board agenda and they were not on the agenda today. But there was nothing referenced to, it was just those 4 that were referenced that were going to be discussion and action on.
So these would have to go on the March.
Well,
for
they,
final.
yeah, they weren't posted 48 hours in advance on the agenda, so, and they weren't on today's agenda either. I don't know how you
Well,
wanna.
then part of that.
Just
we
wanted to
can-
bring that up, cause I didn't want Mr. Lenz
I get what
to
she's saying, 'cause
have
the board
another,
meeting
like,
tomorrow, I wouldn't have been-
expect a check and then possibly not be able to act on it.
That's okay.
So they would still be
Just,
approved, they would just go to the
Committee
next board.
report
we-
is gonna be given
we just
tomorrow,
approve
the
it?
committee report is.
What's that?
Can we just approve it?
Right, but it wasn't posted 48 hours in advance, and that's, action has to be posted 48 hours in advance.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
You just go ahead and approve the ARPA applications tomorrow at the board meeting.
It wasn't posted 48 hours in advance, so it would have had to have been posted on Sunday. Like, you have the sheriff's 2 applications, like, that is on the agenda, because that action was taken at your last
Last
ARPA
meeting.
committee meeting.
So these
But-
would just have to go for the next board.
Like, the 4 that you had new applications for that are listed on your agenda in front of you, those would be able to have action taken on them, I feel like. That's just my personal.
No, that's okay, that's fantastic.
thought. I just wanna make sure that we're doing everything right, and that was just a,
The 4 that are on there wasn't necessarily, they were just the requested speakers.
Right.
That
Um,
we requested they make.
Yeah.
sure.
For additional information, but I get what you're saying, meeting the 48 hours, so essentially, you can move forward with everything you've done today, they would just have to go to the March board meeting,
Right, for approval.
which would be fine.
So we just may have more at the March board meeting.
So, the minutes will just reflect that we adopted resolutions for these today, but they'll be formally approved at the March meeting when they're on the
I
agenda.
feel like to make sure that they're on the county board agenda, so anyone can see that you're giving that much money to the clerk and recorder or the lenses or rapid assembly, to show that it's actually going to be taken, because like, the two for the sheriff are already.
No, that's fine, I was looking at something different than what you were, and Bree, thank you for letting me know about the 48-hour rule.
See, she's saying
Right.
this, so,
So
because
we
we listed
could
this, if we had something other than the committee.
To be determined. So if we add others to be determined.
Sure, something like that, but then like that final action being taken at the board meeting, showing which ones are going to be approved and how much they're
And again, we're
for.
running into this because they got canceled.
Right,
Right.
right,
So
this wouldn't
it's
be an
one-time
issue normally.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
wait an
they're
extra
still
month, Mr.
approved,
Lenz,
they're
I'm
just
sorry.
gonna go to the board meeting.
I was an act of God.
Yeah.
You know,
But I'm
can
just
you
gonna
call
say,
a meeting and you can see that we got enough to put together to be worthwhile?
If they're already approved, Charlie, they're just gonna have to get their checks cut in March instead of tomorrow,
Okay.
which is fine. I just now cut the checks from January, cause I was waiting on the.
We got Mr. Devine to make sure, yeah.
It looks to me like a lot of this stuff takes a lot of time.
It does, now going forward, it should be a little bit better, and we wouldn't have ran into this problem if we wouldn't have had to cancel our meeting last week.
We're gonna run into unseen problems.
That's life.
That's why I suggest you get about 10, 12 applications. Looks like we can make a move on. We should have.
Are we gonna ask for another press release while we're talking about old business?
what,
What's your thoughts on that?
what?
On the press release and push out that we're looking for applications?
You're still deciding on applications and they're still
I mean,
coming in, so, I mean,
okay.
and they
If
announced
you
on
think we
the
need to hold,
radio,
okay.
they announced on the radio when they, after each board meeting, and
I'm just addressing what John and
now
Donna
that you
brought
have
up
a
that,
set, now that you have a set date, for your committee meetings, that'll help too.
I just feel strongly that in order to meet the needs of the county with some of these larger,
yes.
we really need to sit, I mean, that's gonna require a lot of brain power for me at least.
Well, wait a minute.
What?
What is a larger amount? Everybody that applied considers theirs a large amount.
Well, I know,
So they're equal to equal time to large amounts.
I agree, Charlie, but I'm afraid that when people are asking for $500,000, I'm gonna have a lot more questions to ask. I think it might take a little bit,
I don't think so. It should be the same amount of questions. If there's a question to be asked about the application, if it's a $5 application, it should be asked, it should be answered. I don't think we can do that. Somebody with $1 million may be very adept at sending in the application. So most of them should already be answered.
okay.
All right, any more old business? I'll try new business.